A desperate mother stands at the orphanage door in the pouring rain, clutching a baby she can't bear to keep, while a cleaning lady watches from the shadows, ready to change the child's fate forever. This story is about how one choice can echo for generations. Where are you listening from today? Stay with me. Enjoy the story. The rain tapped against the orphanage windows like tiny fingers seeking entry. In the sterile hallway, a woman in an expensive coat stood frozen, her manicured hands trembling as they held a small bundle. The baby inside stirred, dark eyes blinking up at the fluorescent lights above. "I can't," she whispered to no one, her voice barely audible above the storm outside. "I just can't." Betsy Lawson had built her life on appearances. The perfect marriage to a successful businessman. The pristine suburban home. The charity galas where she smiled for cameras. But the child in her arms, with skin several shades darker than her own, represented everything her world couldn't accept. Everything she couldn't accept. The baby's tiny fist escaped the blanket, reaching toward her mother's face with innocent trust. Betsy's breath caught, a sob threatening to escape. For a moment, just a moment, she saw not the complication this child represented, but the miracle she had carried for 9 months. The daughter she had felt kick and move within her. "Ma'am?" The orphanage director's voice cut through the silence. "Are you certain about this decision?" Betsy's jaw tightened. The walls of her carefully constructed world pressed in around her. Her husband's ultimatum echoed in her mind. "Choose, the child or everything we've built." "Yes," she said, the word falling like a stone into still water. "I'm certain." She placed the baby, Amara, she had named her in secret, into the director's arms without another glance. Her heels clicked against the linoleum as she walked away, each step echoing like a gunshot in the empty corridor. But someone else had been watching from the shadows. Gloria Owens had been cleaning the orphanage offices when she witnessed the scene. At 62, she had raised 4 children of her own while working 3 jobs. Her hands permanently stained from years of cleaning solutions and hard labor. She had seen enough abandoned children to recognize the weight of this moment. As Betsy's car pulled away into the night, Gloria approached the director's office. Through the glass, she could see the baby lying in a temporary crib, tiny arms reaching toward the ceiling, as if grasping for something, or someone, that was no longer there. "That poor little angel," Gloria whispered to herself, her weathered hands pressed against the cool glass. The director, Mrs. Henley, looked up from her paperwork. "Gloria, you should go home. The storm's getting worse." But Gloria couldn't move. Something in the baby's eyes, a depth that seemed impossible for someone so young, held her captive. The child wasn't crying. Instead, she stared at the ceiling with an expression that looked almost resigned, as if she already understood the world's capacity for abandonment. "What will happen to her?" Gloria asked quietly. Mrs. Henley sighed, removing her glasses to rub her tired eyes. "The usual process. We'll try to find her a family, but," she gestured vaguely, "mixed-race children, they're harder to place. Especially girls. She'll likely age out of the system." Gloria's heart clenched. She thought of her own children, all grown now, living their own lives. Her small apartment felt so empty these days, filled only with the echo of her own footsteps and the hum of the old refrigerator. "I want to apply," Gloria said suddenly, surprising herself with the certainty in her voice. Mrs. Henley looked up sharply. "Gloria, you're 62. The adoption process is complicated, and your income—" "I can provide for her," Gloria interrupted, her voice stronger now. "I've raised 4 children. I know what love looks like." The baby made a soft sound, almost like a sigh. When Gloria looked down, those dark eyes were fixed on her face with an intensity that made her breath catch. It was as if the child was choosing her, just as she was choosing the child. "I'll need to file the paperwork," Mrs. Henley said slowly. "It will take time. Background checks, interviews." "I'll wait," Gloria said simply. "However long it takes." That night, Gloria sat in her modest kitchen, staring at the adoption papers spread across her worn table. The wind howled outside her window, rattling the glass in its frame. She thought about her late husband, Miguel, who had died 5 years earlier. How he had always said their home felt happiest when it was full of children's laughter. "What do you think, mi amor?" she whispered to his photograph on the mantel. "One more little one to love?" The next morning, Gloria returned to the orphanage during her lunch break. She found the baby, Amara, lying quietly in her crib, studying the mobile overhead with serious concentration. When Gloria approached, the child's face transformed, a toothless smile spreading across her features. "Hello, pequeña," Gloria whispered, reaching through the bars to touch the baby's cheek. "I'm going to take you home." The adoption process stretched over 3 months. Gloria worked extra shifts, cleaning offices downtown until her back ached and her hands were raw. She attended parenting classes, submitted to home inspections, and answered endless questions about her ability to provide for a child at her age. Through it all, she visited Amara every day. She watched the baby grow from a tiny, fragile bundle into a curious infant who reached for Gloria's face with delighted giggles. She brought books and read to her in both English and Spanish, her voice soft and melodic in the sterile nursery. "You're going to be strong, mija," Gloria would whisper during their quiet moments together. "Stronger than anyone who gave up on you. I can see it in your eyes." Other potential parents came and went. Gloria watched them look at Amara with polite interest before moving on to other children, babies who looked more like what they had imagined their families would be. Each rejection felt like a small knife in Gloria's chest, but she never let it show in front of the child. On the day the adoption was finalized, Gloria wore her best dress, the navy blue one she had worn to her youngest son's graduation. She signed the papers with hands that shook slightly, not from nervousness, but from joy. "She's officially yours," Mrs. Henley said, placing Amara in Gloria's arms. "Amara Owens." Gloria looked down at the baby, her baby, and saw something she had never seen before in those dark eyes. Peace. The restless searching was gone, replaced by contentment and trust. "Welcome home, mi amor," Gloria whispered, pressing a gentle kiss to Amara's forehead. As they walked out of the orphanage together, Gloria felt a profound sense of purpose settle over her shoulders like a warm shawl. She didn't know that this moment would McDonaldy both their lives in ways she could never imagine. She only knew that love, real, unconditional love, had found its way into both their hearts. 7 years had passed since that stormy night at the orphanage. The small apartment that had once echoed with loneliness now hummed with life. Amara Owens sat cross-legged on the worn carpet, her school uniform crisp despite being second-hand, her dark eyes focused intently on the leather purse in her hands. "Mira, abuela," she said, using the Spanish word for grandmother that had become as natural as breathing. "The stitching is coming apart here." Gloria looked up from her evening cleaning supplies, her tired face softening. Even at 7, Amara had an eye for detail that amazed her. The child could spot a loose thread, a misaligned seam, or a scratch on leather from across the room. "Sí, pequeña, I see it." Gloria settled beside her on the floor, her joints protesting after a long day of cleaning office buildings downtown. "But look closer. What do you notice about the way it was made?" Amara's small fingers traced the purse's construction, her touch reverent. "The leather is real, not fake. And see how the handles are attached? They use tiny screws, not just glue like the cheap ones at the store." Gloria's heart swelled with pride. She had been carrying that purse for 15 years, a gift from one of her employers who had noticed how Gloria's old bag was falling apart. It had been expensive once, though Gloria had never known exactly how much. "Why do you think some bags last longer than others?" Gloria asked, settling into their nightly ritual of discovery. "Because someone cared when they made it," Amara said without hesitation. "They didn't just want to sell it. They wanted it to be perfect." The apartment around them told the story of their modest life. Gloria's cleaning supplies lined one wall, industrial-grade solutions and worn cloths that accompanied her to 3 different office buildings each day. The kitchen table doubled as Amara's homework desk, and the living room furniture had seen better decades. But everything was immaculate, organized with the precision of someone who understood that dignity lived in the details. "Abuela," Amara said quietly, still studying the purse, "why don't you have nice things like the ladies whose offices you clean?" Gloria's hands stilled. It was a question she had been expecting, but it still caught her off guard. Through the thin walls, she could hear the neighbor's television, the distant sound of traffic, the ordinary symphony of a working-class neighborhood. "What makes you think I don't have nice things?" Gloria asked carefully. Amara looked around the apartment, then back at her grandmother. "I went to Maria's house yesterday. Her mother has purses like this one, She held up the worn leather bag. But new ones, lots of them. And their apartment is bigger, and they have a car. Gloria felt the familiar tightness in her chest. At 69, she worked harder than ever, taking on extra shifts to ensure Amara had everything she needed for school. But everything she needed was a far cry from everything she wanted, and children noticed these things. "Come here, mija," Gloria said softly. Amara nestled against her grandmother's side, breathing in the familiar scent of lemon cleaning solution and the lavender soap Gloria used on her hands. "You know what I learned in all my years?" Gloria said, her voice quiet but firm. "Nice things aren't about having money. Nice things are about having love, about having someone who sees you, really sees you, and thinks you're worth everything." "But wouldn't it be nice to have both?" Amara asked, her voice small. Gloria was quiet for a long moment. She thought about Betsy Lawson, who had had all the money in the world but couldn't see the treasure she was holding. She thought about her own children, grown now but still calling every week, still visiting with grandchildren, who lit up when they saw her. "See," Gloria said finally, "it would be nice to have both. But if you can only have one, which would you choose?" Amara considered this seriously. "Love," she said. "But abuela, what if you could make your own nice things? What if you could have love and beautiful things you made yourself?" Gloria looked down at her granddaughter, struck by the intensity in those dark eyes. "What do you mean, pequeña?" "I watch you fix things," Amara said, sitting up straighter. "You fixed Mrs. Chen's purse strap last week. You made my school bag look better than new when the zipper broke. You see how things should be." Gloria's breath caught. She remembered the satisfaction she had felt fixing Mrs. Chen's expensive handbag, the way her fingers had moved instinctively to strengthen the weak points, to improve the original design. She had always been good with her hands, but she had never thought of it as anything more than necessity. "What if we learned together?" Amara continued, her voice growing excited. "What if we learned to make beautiful things, really beautiful things?" That weekend, Gloria took Amara to the public library. They spent hours in the craft section, checking out books on leatherworking, sewing, and fashion design. Amara absorbed everything like a sponge, asking questions that revealed an understanding far beyond her years. "Look at this," Amara whispered, pointing to a photograph of a designer handbag. "See how they used contrasting thread? It's not just functional. It's decoration, too." Gloria studied the image, her experienced eye noting details she had never paid attention to before. The way the handles were reinforced, the placement of the logo, the quality of the hardware. "We could do this," Amara said with quiet certainty. "We could make things even better." Over the following months, their apartment transformed. Gloria set up a small workspace in the corner of the living room, using her savings to buy basic leather working tools and materials. She taught Amara everything she knew about working with her hands, about patience, about the difference between adequate and excellent. Amara's first attempts were clumsy, her small fingers struggling with the thick leather and sharp tools. But she never complained, never gave up. She would sit for hours, carefully stitching seams, studying the way leather behaved under her hands. "Slower, mija," Gloria would say gently, guiding Amara's hands. "Let the leather tell you where it wants to go." By Amara's 8th birthday, she had completed her first purse, a small crossbody bag with careful, even stitching, and a design that was uniquely her own. Gloria watched with tears in her eyes as her granddaughter held up the finished piece, the pride on her face brighter than any birthday gift. "It's not perfect," Amara said, examining her work critically. "No," Gloria agreed, taking the bag and turning it over in her hands. "But it's yours, and that makes it precious." That night, after Amara had gone to bed, Gloria sat in her kitchen holding the small purse. She thought about the years ahead, about the dreams she could see growing in her granddaughter's eyes. She thought about the way Amara's hands moved with increasing confidence, about the questions she asked that revealed an understanding of beauty and craftsmanship that couldn't be taught, only nurtured. For the first time since Miguel's death, Gloria felt something she had almost forgotten: hope. Not just for survival, not just for getting by, but for something greater, something that belonged to them both. 5 years later, the corner of Gloria's apartment had evolved into something that barely resembled the modest workspace it had once been. Leather hides hung carefully from makeshift racks, and the scent of quality materials filled the air. Amara, now 13, sat hunched over her latest creation, her movements precise and purposeful. "Mrs. Patterson from 4B wants to know if you can make her a wallet like the one you made for her sister," Gloria said, hanging up the old rotary phone that had become their unofficial business line. Amara looked up, a small smile playing at her lips. "Tell her yes, but it'll be $50. And if she wants custom initials, that's extra." Gloria raised an eyebrow. $50? Mija, that's more than I make in a day at the office building. "Your work is worth more than they pay you," Amara said matter-of-factly, returning to her stitching. "And so is mine." The transformation hadn't happened overnight. Word had spread slowly through their neighborhood. Whispered conversations between neighbors about the young girl who could fix anything leather, who could make old purses look better than new. Gloria had watched with growing amazement as Amara's confidence bloomed alongside her skills. But it was the day Mrs. Mason had visited that everything McDonalded. Gloria had been cleaning the executive offices downtown when she mentioned, almost casually, that her granddaughter had fixed her supervisor's handbag. Mrs. Mason, a sharp-eyed woman in her 50s who carried herself with the authority of someone accustomed to getting what she wanted, had demanded to see the work. "This is exceptional," Mrs. Mason had said, examining the repaired purse under the harsh fluorescent lights. "Who taught her to work with leather like this?" "I did," Gloria had replied quietly, feeling suddenly self-conscious about her accent, her cleaning uniform, the way she smelled of industrial soap. Mrs. Mason had studied Gloria with new interest. "You have a gift, both of you. This isn't just repair work, this is artistry." That conversation had led to Mrs. Mason commissioning a custom bag for her daughter's graduation, then another for her sister's birthday, then 3 more for her book club members. Each piece Amara created was better than the last, her young hands guided by an instinct that seemed to come from somewhere deeper than training. Now, at 13, Amara moved through their cramped apartment with the confidence of someone twice her age. She had grown tall and lean, her dark eyes holding depths that spoke of dreams larger than their small world. "Abuela," she said, not looking up from her work. "I've been thinking." Gloria smiled, recognizing the tone. Amara's thinking usually led to McDonald's that both excited and terrified her. "About what, Pequeña?" "About school." Gloria's hand stilled on the leather she was cutting. Amara was in 8th grade, her report cards a source of pride despite the challenges of balancing schoolwork with their growing business. She was particularly gifted in art and mathematics, and her teachers had begun talking about high school options. "What about school?" Gloria asked carefully. "I want to study business," Amara said, finally looking up. "And fashion design. There's a program at the community college. I could start taking classes while I finish high school." Gloria felt the familiar tightness in her chest. At 74, she still worked 3 jobs to make ends meet. Community college, even with financial aid, would be a stretch. "Mija, you know our situation." "I know," Amara interrupted gently. "But look at what we've built here. In 2 years, we've gone from fixing Mrs. Chen's purse to having a waiting list. People are driving from other neighborhoods to bring us their bags." Gloria looked around their apartment, seeing it through Amara's eyes. The dining table had become a permanent workspace. The living room held their growing inventory of materials. The kitchen counter housed their accounting ledger, a simple notebook where Amara recorded every transaction in her careful handwriting. "I calculated our profit from last month," Amara continued. "We made more than you earn at all 3 cleaning jobs combined." The numbers were there, written in Amara's precise script. Gloria had seen them, had held the cash in her hands, but hadn't quite believed what they meant. "We could do this full time," Amara said quietly. "We could make it official. Get a business license, maybe rent a small space." "Amara," Gloria said, her voice soft with concern. "What if it doesn't work? What if people stop coming?" Amara set down her needle and thread, walking over to where Gloria sat. She took her grandmother's weathered hands in her own smooth ones. "Then we'll have tried," she said simply, "and we'll still have each other." That evening, Gloria sat alone in the kitchen after Amara had gone to bed, staring at the numbers in the ledger. The figures swam before her tired eyes, but the truth was undeniable. In 2 years, they had built something from nothing, something that was theirs. She thought about Miguel, about the dreams they had shared for their children and grandchildren. He had always believed in taking chances, in betting on love and hard work. "What do you think, mi amor?" she whispered to his photograph. "Are we ready for this?" The next morning, Gloria woke to find Amara already at work, carefully hand-stitching a logo onto a purse. It was a simple design, 2 interlocking circles with AM in elegant script beneath. "What's that, mija?" Gloria asked, settling beside her with her morning coffee. "Our brand," Amara said, holding up the purse. "Amara Owens. Simple, clean, memorable." Gloria studied the logo, feeling something shift in her chest. "What about Gloria Owens? You learned everything from me." Amara's hands stilled. She looked up at her grandmother, her dark eyes serious. "You gave me everything, abuela. Your name, your love, your skills. But this," she gestured to the purse, to the workshop around them. "This is mine to give back to you." Gloria felt tears prick her eyes. "Misha." "Besides," Amara continued, a smile breaking across her face, "everyone already knows these are made by Gloria's granddaughter. That's our reputation." That afternoon, Gloria called Mrs. Mason. "I want to discuss a business proposition," she said, her voice stronger than she felt. Mrs. Mason's interest was immediate. "I'm listening. My granddaughter and we're ready to expand. We need an investor, someone who understands quality." "How much are you talking about?" Gloria looked at Amara, who was listening intently. They had discussed this moment for weeks, had calculated and recalculated their needs. $20,000, Gloria said, "for equipment, materials, and rent on a small workshop space." There was silence on the other end of the line. Gloria's heart hammered in her chest. "I'll need to see a business plan," Mrs. Mason said finally, "and I'll want to meet with both of you. But Gloria, I think you're sitting on something special." After hanging up, Gloria turned to find Amara watching her with an expression of quiet pride. "You did it," Amara said simply. "We did it," Gloria corrected, reaching out to pull her granddaughter into a hug. Outside their window, the city hummed with the same rhythm it always had. But inside their small apartment, surrounded by the tools of their trade and the dreams they had built together, everything had McDonalded. The workshop smelled of new leather and possibility. Amara, now 25, moved through the space with the fluid grace of someone completely in her element. The small storefront Gloria had dreamed of had evolved into something neither of them could have imagined 12 years ago. A boutique atelier in the heart of the city's design district, where women lined up for custom pieces that bore the distinctive AM logo. "The order from Bergdorf's came in," said Carmen, their newest employee, holding up a tablet displaying numbers that would have seemed impossible in their apartment days. "They want 50 pieces for the fall collection." Amara nodded, her fingers still working on the intricate beadwork of a clutch that would sell for more than Gloria used to make in 6 months. "Tell them we can do 30. Quality over quantity. That's what our reputation is built on." Gloria watched from her corner office, a space Amara had insisted on, complete with a comfortable chair and a window overlooking the street. At 81, she no longer worked with her hands daily, but her eyes still caught every detail, every imperfection that others might miss. "Mija," Gloria called softly, "there's someone here to see you." Amara looked up, her brow furrowing. They didn't take walk-ins anymore. Appointments were booked months in advance. But when she saw the woman standing in their doorway, her breath caught. Elegant didn't begin to describe her. Everything about her spoke of wealth. The tailored suit, the perfectly styled silver hair, the way she held herself as if accustomed to being the most important person in any room. She was perhaps in her 60s, though good cosmetic work made it hard to tell. "Are you Amara Owens?" the woman asked, her voice carrying a slight tremor that seemed at odds with her composed exterior. "I am," Amara replied, setting down her tools. Something about this woman felt familiar, though she couldn't place why. "How can I help you?" The woman's eyes swept the workshop, taking in the gleaming equipment, the skilled artisans at their stations, the walls lined with awards and magazine covers featuring Amara's designs. Her gaze lingered on a particular photograph, Amara and Gloria at the International Leather Goods Fair, where they had won the Innovation Award 3 years running. I'd like to commission a piece," the woman said, though her voice suggested this wasn't her real purpose. "Of course," Amara said, gesturing toward the consultation area. Please, have a seat. Can I get you some tea? Coffee? Tea would be lovely. As Amara prepared the tea, a ritual she had learned from Gloria, who believed that sharing a cup created connection, she found herself studying the woman's profile. There was something in the curve of her cheek, the line of her jaw, that tugged at memories she couldn't quite reach. You've built something extraordinary here, the woman said, accepting the delicate porcelain cup. How long have you been in business? 15 years officially, Amara replied, though my grandmother and I started working together when I was 7. The woman's hand trembled slightly, causing the teacup to rattle against the saucer. Your grandmother, she raised you? Yes, Amara said, her voice softening with warmth. She adopted me when I was a baby. She's everything to me. The woman set down her cup with deliberate care. Amara, I need to tell you something. My name is Betsy Lawson, and I believe I might be your biological mother. The words hung in the air like smoke. Amara felt the world shift beneath her feet, though she managed to keep her expression calm. Behind her, she heard Gloria's sharp intake of breath. I see, Amara said quietly. And what makes you believe that? Betsy reached into her purse, a designer bag that Amara's trained eye immediately recognized as worth more than most people's monthly salary, and withdrew a faded photograph. It showed a much younger Betsy holding a baby with unmistakable dark eyes and caramel skin. I've been looking for you for years, Betsy said, her composed mask beginning to crack. I've hired investigators, searched adoption records. When I saw your photo in Vogue last month, I knew. You have your father's eyes. Amara studied the photograph, her heart pounding despite her outward calm. The baby in the image could have been her, but photographs could lie. What struck her more was the expression on young Betsy's face, a mixture of love and terror that spoke of impossible choices. Why now? Amara asked, her voice steady as steel. Why look for me now? Betsy's carefully constructed facade crumbled. Tears she had probably been holding back for decades spilled down her cheeks, smudging her perfect makeup. Because I was a coward, she whispered. Because I chose a life that seemed safe over the daughter I loved. Because I've regretted it every single day for 30 years. Gloria appeared at Amara's shoulder, her presence both protective and grounding. Mija, she said softly, you don't have to. It's okay, abuela, Amara said, reaching for Gloria's hand. I want to hear this. Betsy looked between them, noting the easy intimacy, the way they seemed to communicate without words. I can see she loves you, she said to Amara, the way I should have loved you. She does love me, Amara replied, her voice carrying a strength that filled the room. She chose me every day for 30 years. She worked 3 jobs to give me opportunities. She taught me everything I know about quality, about integrity, about what it means to create something beautiful. Betsy flinched as if struck. I know I have no right to ask for anything. I know I gave up that right a long time ago. But I'm dying, Amara. Cancer. I have maybe 6 months, and I needed to see who you became. I needed to know that you were loved. The admission hung heavy in the air. Amara felt Gloria's hand tighten in hers, offering silent support. I was loved, Amara said simply. I am loved. By someone who chose me not because I was convenient, but because love doesn't require convenience. Betsy nodded, tears flowing freely now. I can see that. I can see how extraordinary you are, how strong. Nothing I did, nothing I failed to do took that away from you. No, Amara agreed. It didn't. They sat in silence for a moment, the weight of 30 years settling between them. Finally, Betsy spoke again. I know I can't undo what I did, but I want to do something right. I want to set up a foundation in your name for children who age out of the foster system, to help them start businesses, pursue their dreams. I want to turn my regret into something that helps others. Amara studied the woman across from her. Biological mother, stranger, someone who had shaped her life through absence rather than presence. She felt no anger, only a profound sadness for what might have been. I'll consider it, she said finally. But any foundation would honor my grandmother's name too. Gloria Owens. She's the one who taught me what real love looks like. Betsy's smile was watery but genuine. Of course, that's perfect. As Betsy prepared to leave, she paused at the door. I know I don't deserve to say this, but I'm proud of you, of what you've built, who you've become. You're everything I hoped you could be. After she left, Amara sat quietly in her chair, Gloria's hand still in hers. The workshop buzzed with activity around them, but they existed in a bubble of shared understanding. "How do you feel, Mija?" Gloria asked softly. Amara considered the question, examining her heart for cracks or breaks. Instead, she found only the same steady strength that had carried her through 30 years of being chosen, of being loved, without condition. "Like I know exactly who I am," she said finally, "and who my real mother is." Gloria's eyes filled with tears, but her smile was radiant. "Te amo, mi niña, my beautiful, strong girl. I love you too, abuela. Always." The hospital room was awash in golden afternoon light. Betsy Lawson lay propped against crisp white pillows, her once perfect appearance softened by illness and the weight of months spent facing her mortality. Beside her bed sat a leather portfolio, one of Amara's designs, though Betsy had never mentioned how she'd acquired it. "You came," Betsy said, her voice barely above a whisper when Amara appeared in the doorway. "I said I would," Amara replied simply, settling into the visitor's chair. She moved with the same quiet grace that had characterized her throughout their brief relationship, present but not committed, kind but not vulnerable. It had been 4 months since Betsy's first visit to the workshop. 4 months of occasional phone calls, careful conversations, and the gradual establishment of something that wasn't quite friendship, but was more than mere acquaintance. "How is Gloria?" Betsy asked, as she always did. "Stubborn as ever," Amara said, allowing a small smile to touch her lips. "She's at the workshop, training our newest apprentice. Says she's not ready to retire just because she's 81. Betsy's laugh was weak, but genuine. "She sounds remarkable." "She is." They sat in comfortable silence, watching dust motes dance in the afternoon sunlight. Betsy's condition had deteriorated rapidly over the past month, and both women knew these visits were numbered. "I have something to show you," Betsy said, reaching for the portfolio with trembling hands. "The foundation, it's official now." Amara took the folder, her trained fingers immediately recognizing the quality of the leather work. Inside were legal documents, architectural plans, and photographs of a building she didn't recognize. "The Gloria Owens Foundation for Creative Youth," she read aloud, her voice catching slightly on her grandmother's name. "It's in downtown," Betsy explained. "A full building. Workshop spaces, classrooms, even small apartments for aging-out foster youth who need somewhere safe to land while they build their lives." Amara studied the plans, her designer's eye taking in the thoughtful layout, the way natural light had been maximized, the careful attention to creating spaces that felt hopeful rather than institutional. "This is significant," she said finally. "This isn't just a foundation. It's a vision." Betsy's eyes brightened. "I want it to be what I should have been for you. A place where children who have been discarded can discover their worth, their talents, their potential." "And Gloria knows." "I visited her last week," Betsy said quietly. "I hope you don't mind. I wanted her permission to use her name, to tell her what I was trying to do." Amara felt her breath catch. "You went to see her?" "I needed to thank her," Betsy said simply, "for saving you, for becoming the mother I couldn't be." The image of Betsy Lawson in Gloria's modest apartment, 2 women from different worlds, connected only by their love for the same child, was almost too much to process. "What did she say?" Betsy's smile was soft with memory. "She invited me for tea, made me sit in her favorite chair, and then she told me about every year of your life I missed, every birthday, every achievement, every moment of joy. She said she wanted me to know exactly what love looked like." Tears pricked Amara's eyes. "That sounds like her. She's not angry with me," Betsy continued, wonder in her voice. "She should be, but she's not. She said that anger was a waste of the time we had left, that if I truly wanted to honor you, I should put my energy into helping other children instead of punishing myself for the past. Forgiveness is her superpower," Amara said quietly. "She taught me that holding on to hurt only makes you smaller." Betsy reached out tentatively, her thin hand covering Amara's. "I understand now why you became who you are. It wasn't despite being abandoned. It was because of being chosen, every day, by someone who saw your worth." Amara looked down at their joined hands, one marked by illness and regret, the other strong and capable, shaped by years of creating beautiful things. "I want to tell you something," Amara said, her voice steady. "I forgive you." Betsy's breath caught. "Amara, not for your sake," Amara continued. "For mine, for Gloria's, for all the children who will benefit from this foundation. I forgive you, because carrying anger would make me less than who I am. And Gloria didn't raise me to be less than anything." Betsy's tears fell freely now, years of guilt and self-recrimination finally finding release. "I don't deserve your forgiveness." "That's not how forgiveness works," Amara said gently. "It's not about deserving. It's about choosing to be free." A soft knock interrupted them. Gloria appeared in the doorway, her weathered hands carrying a small wrapped package. "I hope I'm not intruding," she said, though her eyes were warm with understanding. "Never," Amara said, rising to embrace her grandmother. "Betsy was just showing me the foundation plans." Gloria nodded, settling into the second chair. "It's beautiful work. Miguel would have loved seeing something like this, helping young people find their way." Betsy watched the easy interaction between them, the way they seemed to communicate in shorthand, built over decades of shared experience. "I brought you something," Gloria said, offering the wrapped package to Betsy. "I thought you might like to have it." Betsy opened the package with careful hands, revealing a small leather journal with her initials embossed in gold. The craftsmanship was exquisite, clearly one of Amara's pieces. "It's beautiful," Betsy whispered. "But I can't accept this. It's too much." "It's not from me," Gloria said simply. "It's from Amara. She made it for you last month." Betsy looked up at Amara, confusion and gratitude warring in her eyes. "I wanted you to have something to write in," Amara explained. "Your thoughts, your memories, your hopes for the foundation. Something that would last." Betsy pressed the journal to her chest, overcome. "I don't understand. Why are you both being so kind to me?" Gloria and Amara ex-McDonalded a look, the kind of wordless communication that comes from a lifetime of love and understanding. "Because," Gloria said softly, "kindness isn't something you earn. It's something you choose to give, and we choose to give it to you." That evening, after they had returned to the workshop, Amara found Gloria in her office, staring out at the city lights. "Are you okay, Abuela?" she asked, settling beside her. "I was thinking about choices," Gloria said quietly. "About the ones Betsy made, the ones I made, the ones you're making now. What about them?" "She gave you life," Gloria said simply. "I gave you love. You're giving her peace. Maybe that's how it was always supposed to be." Amara took her grandmother's hand, feeling the familiar comfort of weathered skin and unconditional acceptance. "I learned something today," she said, "about strength, about what it means to be powerful." "What's that, mija?" "Being powerful isn't about being the strongest person in the room. It's about being strong enough to lift others up, to forgive, to choose love even when it's hard." Gloria squeezed her hand. "Your father would be proud. Both of your fathers. The one who gave you those beautiful eyes, and Miguel, who would have claimed you as his own granddaughter from the moment he met you." Outside their window, the city hummed with its eternal rhythm. But inside their workshop, surrounded by the tools of their trade and the dreams they had built together, two women who had chosen each other sat in comfortable silence, their bond deeper than blood, stronger than time. 5 years had passed since Betsy Lawson's funeral, a small, dignified service that Amara and Gloria had attended, not as family, but as witnesses to the completion of a circle that had taken 35 years to close. Now, on a crisp autumn morning, the Gloria Owens Foundation buzzed with the energy of young dreams taking shape. Amara walked through the bright corridors of the foundation building, her steps soft on floors that gleamed with care. At 42, she moved with the quiet confidence of someone who had learned that true power came not from having all the answers, but from asking the right questions. "Miss Owens," called a voice from one of the workshop rooms. "Can you look at this stitch? I can't get it right." Amara smiled, recognizing the voice of Vincent, a 17-year-old who had aged out of foster care 6 months ago. His natural talent with leather reminded her of herself at that age, all raw potential and fierce determination. "Show me," she said, settling beside his workstation. Vincent held up a wallet he'd been crafting, his dark fingers tracing a seam that was slightly uneven. "I keep trying, but it doesn't look like yours. It's not supposed to look like mine." Amara said gently, taking the piece and examining it with the same careful attention Gloria had once given her work. It's supposed to look like Vincent's. What do you see when you look at this? Vincent studied his work, his brow furrowed in concentration. I see. Maybe it's not perfect, but the leather is good quality, and the design is solid. It just needs patience. Exactly, Amara said, handing the wallet back. Perfection isn't the goal. Excellence is, and excellence comes from caring about every single step, even when no one else will notice. She left Vincent to his work, continuing her morning rounds. In the digital design lab, 2 young women were creating patterns for a line of sustainable bags. In the business classroom, a group of aging-out foster youth were learning about profit margins and marketing strategies. And in the quiet corner office that had once been reserved for Gloria, an 86-year-old woman sat reading to a group of children from the Foundation's daycare program. And the little mouse learned that being small didn't mean being powerless. Gloria's voice carried clearly through the open door, her accent adding warmth to the familiar story. Sometimes the smallest hands can create the most beautiful things. Amara paused in the doorway, watching her grandmother, now officially retired, but unable to stay away from the place that bore her name. The children sat transfixed, their eyes wide with wonder at the story Gloria was spinning. Abuela Gloria, said a little girl with pigtails. Is that story true? Gloria's eyes found Amara's across the room, and her smile was radiant. Sí, pequeña. Every word. Later that morning, Amara stood in the Foundation's main gallery, preparing for the monthly board meeting. The walls were lined with photographs and artwork, documentation of 30 years of dreams made manifest. There was the original newspaper clipping about their first award, photos from fashion weeks in Milan and Paris, pictures of scholarship recipients graduating from design schools around the world. But the centerpiece was a simple display case containing 3 items: Gloria's original sewing kit, with its worn handles and careful repairs, the first purse Amara had ever made, stitched with the uncertain hands of an 8-year-old, and Betsy's leather journal, open to a page written just weeks before her death. I never learned how to be a mother, the entry read in Betsy's careful script, but I was privileged to see what motherhood truly looks like. It's not about biology or circumstance. It's about choosing to nurture greatness in another person every single day, even when, especially when, the world tells you that person isn't worth the effort. Gloria Owens taught me that love isn't something you feel, it's something you do. And Amara taught me that strength isn't about never falling down. It's about getting back up and helping others rise with you. The board members began to arrive, a mix of business leaders, educators, and former Foundation recipients who had returned to give back. Among them was Mrs. Mason, now in her 80s, but still sharp-eyed and engaged. Amara, she said, approaching with the careful steps of someone who valued dignity over speed. I wanted you to know, we've received the largest donation in the Foundation's history. Anonymous, but the letter that came with it was remarkable. She handed Amara an envelope bearing elegant handwriting. Inside was a check that made Amara's breath catch, and a simple note. My daughter would have been 42 this year. She died in a car accident when she was 16, and not a day goes by that I don't think about the woman she might have become. Please use this to help other daughters find their strength, the way Amara found hers. Sometimes the most important mothers are the ones who choose to love us, not the ones who happen to give birth to us. Amara felt tears prick her eyes. The gift was enough to fund full scholarships for an entire year of students, enough to expand their mentorship program, enough to make dreams possible for dozens of young people who had been told they weren't worth the investment. There's something else, Mrs. Mason said softly. The donor wants to meet you. She's waiting in the lobby. Amara found her sitting quietly near the Foundation's entrance, a woman in her 70s with kind eyes and silver hair, studying the walls lined with success stories. I'm Amara Owens, she said, extending her hand. Amy McDonald, the woman replied, her grip firm despite her age. I hope you don't mind the surprise visit. I wanted to see this place for myself. Thank you for your extraordinary generosity. May I ask what brought you to us? Amy's smile was soft with memory. I read about you in a magazine 5 years ago, about how you forgave your birth mother, how you built this foundation with her money but in your grandmother's honor. I thought, here's someone who understands that family isn't about blood. It's about choice. They walked through the Foundation together, Amy taking in every detail, with the careful attention of someone who understood what it meant to nurture dreams. In the workshop, she paused to watch Vincent, now teaching a newer student the technique Amara had shown him that morning. "He's passing it on," Amy observed. "That's the goal," Amara said. "Not just to teach skills, but to teach people to teach others, to understand that what they've learned has value." As the day drew to a close, Amara found herself back in Gloria's office. Her grandmother had finished story time and was now organizing the children's artwork, each piece carefully labeled and dated, destined for the proud display that would make young artists feel seen and valued. "Another beautiful day, mija," Gloria said, settling into her favorite chair with a satisfied sigh. "The best kind," Amara agreed, taking her usual spot beside Gloria's desk. "Amy McDonald's donation will help so many kids." Gloria hummed thoughtfully. "But that's not the most important thing that happened today." "What do you mean?" Gloria gestured toward the workshop, where Vincent could still be seen through the glass walls, patiently guiding his students' hands. "That boy. 3 months ago, he was angry at the world. Today, he's teaching someone else. That's the real success." Amara followed her grandmother's gaze, understanding flooding through her. "He's learning that he has something valuable to give." "Exactly. And someday, maybe 30 years from now, he'll have his own workshop, his own students, and they'll all trace their skills back to this moment, to this choice, to believe in possibility." As the sun set over the city, painting the foundation's windows in shades of gold and amber, Amara felt the weight and wonder of legacy settling around her shoulders like a well-worn shawl. She thought about the choices that had led to this moment: Betsy's desperate decision 35 years ago, Gloria's fierce determination to love an abandoned child, her own choice to forgive and build rather than harbor resentment. "Do you ever wonder what would have happened if things had been different?" Amara asked quietly. Gloria considered the question, her weathered hands folded peacefully in her lap. "Different how? If Betsy had kept you? If I had never gone to the orphanage that night?" "Yes, sometimes," Gloria admitted. "But then I think, every choice led us here, to this moment, to this place, to all these young people who now know that they're worth investing in. Maybe that was always the plan." "Do you think she knows?" Amara asked, thinking of Betsy. "Do you think she can see what her foundation has become?" Gloria's smile was radiant with certainty. "I think she knows. And I think she's finally at peace." Outside, the city hummed with its eternal rhythm, the same rhythm that had carried a desperate woman to an orphanage 35 years ago, that had brought a lonely housekeeper to witness an abandonment and choose love instead. The same rhythm that now carried the dreams of dozens of young people who had learned that their worth wasn't determined by where they came from, but by where they chose to go. In the Foundation's guest book, visitors often wrote messages of gratitude and inspiration, but the entry that Amara treasured most was written in Gloria's careful script on the day the building had opened. "True wealth isn't measured in money or possessions. It's measured in the number of people who are better off because you existed. By that measure, we are the richest women in the world." As they prepared to leave for the day, Amara helped Gloria with her coat, a gesture that had become as natural as breathing. Two women, bound not by blood but by choice, surrounded by the evidence of dreams made manifest through patience, love, and an unshakable belief in the worth of every human soul. "Ready to go home, abuela?" Amara asked. "Sí, mija," Gloria replied, taking Amara's arm. "Let's go home." And as they walked out together into the evening air, the foundation behind them glowed with warm light, a beacon of possibility in a world that had taught too many children that they were disposable. But here, in this place built on the foundation of chosen love and fierce determination, every child learned the same lesson that had transformed an abandoned baby into a woman of strength and grace. You are worth choosing. You are worth loving. You are